Hey everybody, this is Olga with AskYourSoul.org. On this channel, we do soul messages and talk about manifesting, divine guidance, and other metaphysical fun stuff. Well, it's only fun if you think it's fun. It's fun for me, so if it's fun for you, then you're in the right place. Today, I wanted to talk about something that is a huge part of manifesting, and essentially this is one of the things that makes manifesting what it is versus acting in our 3D reality. And that is, as Neville Goddard himself calls it, the effortless way. So the effortless way is actually a chapter in his Power of Awareness book. And it's pretty short, but it's really powerful. So I thought I would just read it to you, because why not? Okay, so here we go. The principle of least action governs everything in physics, from the path of a planet to the path of a pulse of light. Least action is the minimum of energy multiplied by the minimum of time. Therefore, in moving from your present state to the state desired, you must use the minimum of energy and take the shortest possible time. Your journey from one state of consciousness to another is a psychological one. So, to make the journey, you must employ the psychological equivalent of least action, and the psychological equivalent is mere assumption. The day you fully realize the power of assumption, you discover that it works in complete conformity with this principle. It works by means of attention minus effort. Thus, with least action, through an assumption, you hurry without haste and reach your goal without effort. Because creation is finished, what you desire already exists. It is excluded from view because you can see only the contents of your own consciousness. It is the function of an assumption to call back the excluded view and restore full vision. It is not the world, but your assumptions that change. An assumption brings the invisible into sight. It is nothing more nor nothing less than seeing with the eye of God, i.e., imagination. The heart is the primary organ of sense, hence the first cause of experience. When you look, quote-unquote, on the heart, you are looking at your assumptions. Assumptions determine your experience. Watch your assumption with all diligence, for out of it are the issues of life. Assumptions have the power of objective realization. Every event in the visible world is the result of an assumption or idea in the unseen world. The present moment is all important, for it is only in the present moment that our assumptions can be controlled. The future must become the present in your mind if you would wisely operate the law of assumption. The future becomes the present when you imagine that you already are what you will be when your assumption is fulfilled. Be still, least action, and know that you are that which you desire to be. The end of longing should be being. Translate your dream into being. Perpetual construction of future states without the consciousness of already being them, that is, picturing your desire without actually assuming the feeling of the wish fulfilled, is the fallacy and mirage of mankind. It is simply futile daydreaming. So from reading this chapter, I think what stands out the most for me is how he emphasizes that it's not just about imagining. Even though imagination is the power behind creation, it's not enough to just imagine. It's actually important to also feel. You know how Neville always emphasizes that feeling is the secret, right? And feeling of the wish fulfilled. And basically he's saying that you cannot manifest anything unless you not only imagine yourself having your desire, but also you truly focus on what it would feel like to have that desire. But other than that, he keeps also emphasizing that it's not about effort. And I know that's really hard for us to grasp as human beings who grew up in this 3D reality where it seems like everything takes effort. You know, like you wake up in the morning, you have to get up. That takes effort. And then you have to like brush your teeth, take a shower, do whatever you want to do. All of that stuff takes effort, right? But I think that when it comes to manifesting, the kind of effort it takes is very different from the kind of effort it would take if you were to try to like achieve it through the 3D reality by yourself. I was actually just listening to this girl talk about her experience with the law of assumption. She was saying how she was always like this go-getter and she would always work so hard, and she was working in sales, I think, and she was working so hard, always striving and doing stuff and finding clients and like trying to close the sales and doing all the stuff. And it was like very effortful, right? So it was very 3D based. And then at one point, everything she was trying to do just stopped working. It literally just stopped working, and she had zero sales for months at a time, which was devastating to her. And she truly did not know what to do. And this is kind of how she started to really experiment with manifesting. And I feel like that's the case for a lot of us. Like, we start on this path of manifesting when we're ready to give up, when everything is turned to shit. And this is kind of like our last ditch effort to try to change anything. We just start imagining a different outcome. And I do strongly believe that we receive information when the time is right. So in her case, since she had literally nothing else to lose, she was like, all right, fine, I'll try this freaking manifestation bullshit or whatever it is, which is, again, like, I feel like that's the case for a lot of us, right? In the beginning, we're like, what, is this a fairy tale? Like, what is this? Like, this is just so odd and unrealistic. And of course, it doesn't help that a lot of other people on the outside are like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, dude, you can't be serious, right? But anyway, when you're in the state of mind and you in a situation in life where like you literally have nothing to lose, you're like, all right, fuck it, I'll try it, whatever, what is it? So she started imagining the perfect outcome, right? And I think it did take a couple of months probably for things to start shifting. But every time she would have those doubting thoughts of like, okay, this is ridiculous. Like, I don't know why, what am I doing? It doesn't work. I'm not seeing any result. And this is where it's super important not to give up. Like, it could literally be the difference between your manifestation coming true and not coming true, right? So she did not give up. She just kept affirming to herself that, nope, I am not accepting this reality. I know things are shifting for me right now, and just because I'm not seeing it in my 3D doesn't mean it's not happening, which is exactly the case. So one of those days when she was just affirming to herself that, like, I'm not going down this path of negative thinking again, she just gets a text message of someone saying that they want to do $1 million deal with her. $1 million deal with her. If I can find the link to that interview that I'm talking about, I'll definitely post it below. But, if not, then sorry. But basically, like, that's what happened. She just got this, like, $1 million deal. And the funny thing is, it was not through any one of her clients. It was not through anyone that she knew and had worked with before that it came through. So she's like, that was such a big confirmation for me about how manifesting works. It's like, it just comes out of nowhere. And basically, like, if you think about it, she didn't really put any effort into making that happen with that specific person. So yes, she did put effort, as in like building the business, making sure that people know about her, blah, blah, blah. Like, of course, you have to still put effort into other stuff. But that effort usually comes as a natural, like, oh, I want to do this. It's, again, like, it feels, and I've mentioned this before, I feel like it's more about inspired action. It's more about inspired action where you feel inspired to do something. You know what I mean? It's not like you feel like, oh, crap, I have to do this because if I don't, then this is not going to happen. And what I'm saying is that with manifesting, that's not actually how it works. You put effort into things that you actually want to put effort in. And it may not always be like super easy, although it may. It really depends on what you're doing. But I would really encourage you to think about this action and effort in terms of being excited and inspired to do it versus this like grueling, annoying, boring work that you feel like you have to do. So I think that's the biggest difference, because when you're just in your 3D and you're like, okay, I have to do this, I have to do that. If I don't do it, then people won't find out about me, blah, blah, blah. That's a very different, like you are coming from such a different place versus when you do something just out of excitement. Like, for example, you just one day decide to like have a chat with your friend and they bring something up and you're like, oh my God, that's such a good idea. And you like take it from there, do something with it, and it leads you to something freaking awesome. That's what I'm talking about. versus having everything super like pre-planned and thinking that you have all this control in terms of taking action in 3D. And I know it's very frustrating because it's literally the opposite of what we have been taught. Usually it's like, okay, if you want to achieve anything, you have to work really hard for it. And again, that concept comes from a place of lack. It comes from a very negative place of fear and expectation of lack and the fact that you feel like you have to, and automatically when you feel like you have to do something, it already kind of is a turnoff, you know what I mean? So it's the opposite of manifesting, because with manifesting, what you're doing is you are investing your time and effort in a much more pleasant way by imagining your ideal outcome and also by working on your self-concept and changing your self-concept to match the reality that you want to manifest. So if deep inside you believe that like nothing will ever happen unless I work really, really hard for it, then maybe that's exactly what you're manifesting. And so your return on investment, so to speak, is very low because you feel like you're putting in so much time and effort and work into it and it's just not getting enough. And you're like, what the hell? Why not? But it's really like, I hate to say it, but it's that simple and that difficult because it comes back to your deeply rooted beliefs about yourself and what you deserve. So I think once you grasp that and once you start working on your self-concept, you will start seeing the shift. And it's also, again, very, very important, like I can't emphasize that enough, to not get hung up on what you're seeing in your 3D when you're manifesting, because you start when you start off imagining your ideal outcome, you of course start expecting it to be reflected in your reality, but then you usually don't for a while. And if anything, you might actually get into this purge period where the opposite happens and you start seeing just shit hitting the fan in every way possible. And you're like, what is going on? Like, this is ridiculous. This is exactly the time when most people give up. And this is exactly the time when you cannot give up. And I don't know why it happens. Maybe I tend to think that it's like God's or our universe's way of testing us and seeing how much we actually really do want this in our reality, this desire. But whatever it is, like, it's just good to know that it happens and that's okay. Like, it's all temporary. It is going to pass. As long as you're persistent, as long as you know what you're doing, and as long as you keep believing that it's possible. So with this message, I just want you to know that whatever it is you're trying to manifest, chances are it's absolutely possible. But if you feel like you are working too hard at it, then maybe it's time to stop and do something differently. And really become aware of, are you actually manifesting or are you trying to change your 3D? Because if you're doing the latter, then that's not manifesting. And you can't expect to get the same results as you would if you were manifesting. So don't give up. Seriously, keep trying different things. First and foremost, definitely focus on your self-concept. And as I always mention, one of the best ways of changing it, it's the cheapest and the fastest and the most efficient way of changing it is by listening to self-concept audios at night when your subconscious mind is a lot more susceptible to receiving that information. But of course there are other techniques, and it's very, very important to keep your mental diet on point. Like, it's very important to learn as much as you can about manifesting and to actually practice it, to use it, to practice it in your life, and to, first of all, prove to yourself that it's possible. And that's when it's going to start getting a lot easier, because once you do allow the possibility of manifesting being effective, that's when more and more miracles can start entering your life. And I really encourage you not to give up. I encourage you to keep going and to know that anything is possible. And if you're listening to this right now, like, this is what you need to hear. This is what you need to know. This is your subconscious speaking out to you to remind you that this is possible. Don't give up. Keep going, keep manifesting, keep working on yourself and making yourself happy first and foremost. Not in a selfish way, but just in a way where you will be coming from a place of being a happy, satisfied, loving person who can do great stuff for others, And I feel like that's kind of what it's all about. So, anyways, I really hope you enjoyed this excerpt and my little explanation of how it works or how I believe it works. And it would be amazing if you could maybe like this video, because it like doesn't cost you anything and it would really make my day. Thanks a lot. Subscribing would be just amazing as well. So have an amazing day or night, and believe in yourself. Believe that anything is possible. You're an amazing master manifester, and it's only a matter of time and persistence until you get everything you want in your life. And I'm excited for you. Okay, gots to run. Love y'all. Bye.